9 out of 10 people will watch a video like this and change absolutely nothing. Not because they do not want to, not because they are lazy, but because wanting to change and actually changing are two completely different things, and nobody ever told you why. The problem is not your willpower. It is not your discipline. It is not your circumstances. It is the fact that your brain is running a program you never chose to install. And today I am breaking down exactly how to overwrite it in 21 days using what neuroscience actually shows. You have heard it before. It takes 21 days to build a habit. Most people treat that like a motivational quote on a coffee mug. It is not. It comes from Dr. Maxwell Maltz, a surgeon who noticed in the 1960s that patients took a minimum of 21 days to mentally adjust after physical change. That number got picked up, simplified, repeated, and turned into a self-help slogan that has been misleading people ever since. Here is what the actual science says. A 2010 study from University College London tracked 96 people over 12 weeks. The real average time to form a new automatic behavior was 66 days, not 21. So why are we talking about 21 days? Because 21 days is not the finish line. It is the ignition point, the window in which your brain begins to physically restructure itself if you give it the right input consistently. That one distinction changes everything. Your brain has approximately 86 billion neurons. Every thought you repeat strengthens a connection between them. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself by building new pathways. Picture a woman in her mid-30s, smart, capable, someone who has quietly told herself for 15 years that she is not a confident person, not because something traumatic happened, just because that one thought ran on repeat long enough that her brain built a highway for it. Every morning, every meeting, every moment of self-doubt, the signal traveled the same worn path. Here is what she did not know. That path is not permanent. When you deliberately introduce a new thought and repeat it consistently, your brain begins building a new pathway alongside the old one. At first, the old one is faster, louder, more automatic. But within 21 days of consistent new input, the new pathway becomes measurably stronger. Most people try to fight their old thinking. They argue with it, shame it, try to push through it. The brain does not respond to argument, it responds to repetition. But does repeating a new thought actually change how you feel and behave? That is where most people get it completely wrong. It is not just a thought being reprogrammed, it is an identity. Thoughts repeated become beliefs. Beliefs repeated become identity. And identity is what drives your automatic behavior, the choices you make without even realizing you are making them. This is why affirmations alone do not work. Repeating "I am confident" while your body feels the opposite sends a mixed signal. The brain does not update on words. It updates on evidence. A 2017 study in psychological science found that self-affirmations only produced lasting change when paired with small values-based actions, behaviors that gave the brain proof the new belief was real. You do not just tell yourself you are disciplined. You do one small disciplined thing, then another. The brain receives the evidence. The story begins to shift. And something structural is actually changing inside you when this happens. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that consistent intentional thought practices over 8 weeks produced measurable changes in gray matter density, visible on MRI brain scans. The region most affected was the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and self-regulation. It is also the part that goes quiet under chronic stress. When you are overwhelmed or stuck, that region goes offline. Your decisions get driven by the threat detection center instead. The part that says stay safe, stay small, do not try. This is why people in the hardest circumstances find it most difficult to think their way out. It is not weakness. It is biology. And the brain responds to intentional input at any age. The brain you have today is not the brain you are stuck with. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. Everything so far has been about what is possible, but knowing this has not changed anyone's life. Information has never been the missing piece. What actually changes a life is something most motivational content never gets specific enough to say. Stay with this. Think of a man in his early 40s, stuck in procrastination that had cost him a business, a relationship, and years he knew he would not get back. He had read every book, watched every video, felt inspired, and then watched himself do nothing. He was not lacking information. He was lacking sequence. Here is what actually worked. First, he identified the specific thought that fired every time he was about to take action. One sentence, "People like me do not follow through." Second, he stopped fighting it. Every time that thought appeared, he performed one small deliberate action that produced evidence against it. He sent the email. He made the call. He wrote one paragraph. Not a grand gesture, just one thing. Third, he tracked the days. Not his productivity, just whether he showed up. 21 in a row. By day 12, the thought was still there, but it had lost its grip. By day 21, the new behavior had become the easier path. Repetition builds myelin, the insulating layer around neural pathways that makes signals travel faster. The new pathway had become the brain's default route, not through motivation, through evidence, repeated daily. The 21 days did not finish the work. They started it. The World Health Organization estimates that anxiety and depression, both deeply tied to fixed, repetitive negative thinking, affect over 970 million people globally. 1 in 8 people on this planet. Most of them are not suffering from a lack of information. They have access to the same books, the same videos, the same advice you are hearing right now. What research consistently shows is that the missing element is not knowledge. It is directed repetition, daily new input paired with small aligned action, across cultures, across age groups, across income levels. The mechanism is identical. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply running an old program in a life that has already moved on. And unlike almost everything else, this one you can actually update. Starting today, starting with one thought. Starting with one action that tells your brain a different story about who you are. Even knowing all of this, starting still feels hard. And I want to be honest with you about why. That resistance is not weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. It conserves energy by defaulting to the familiar. Forming new pathways burns more glucose than running old ones. The resistance you feel is physiological. It is a sign something real is happening, not a sign you cannot do it. The hardest day is never the 21st. It is the 2nd, the 3rd. The days when nothing feels different yet, and the old path is still louder than the new one, those are the days the program is being written. Your brain is not fixed. It is not finished. It is not working against you. It is working exactly as it was trained to, by years of repeated input you mostly did not choose consciously. You do not need to feel ready. You do not need to feel motivated. You need to act like the version of you that already thinks differently, and let the feeling follow the behavior. Because it will. That is not inspiration. That is how the brain actually works. The question worth sitting with tonight is not whether you can change. It is this: which thought have you repeated so many times that you have mistaken it for the truth about who you are?